I'm Sarah, and I will be your instructor as we talk about the request for hearing and application to set aside support order under Family Code Section 3691 form. This form is also referred to as FL-360. As always with your court forms, you want to list your identifying case caption information in the areas where that's indicated. The next box is line number 1. You want to identify the party that this motion is going to. That can be the petitioner in the matter, the respondent in the matter, local child support agency. If, for instance, DCSS, Department of Child Support Services, is helping you enforce your support order, then you would also mark this box and send them notice. Oftentimes, Department of Child Support cases that originate with them, the case information is Department of Child Support Services versus the respondent, who's the obligor, and other party is usually the recipient of the support. So if this motion is being served on other parent, for instance, then you would mark this box. And lastly, other. For instance, if there's a joinder in the case, a grandparent has been added to the case, or any other third party, and this motion is to be served on them, then you would list them and mark that box as well. The next box that we see has the date, time, department where the hearing will be taking place. This is often filled out by the clerk. You can leave this blank and they will fill it out when you go file your paperwork. Address of the court, 1B. This is where you would list the address where the hearing has been taking place. It is usually where most of your hearings have been taking place. So you would just list that in there. If it's the same as the address that's listed above in your case caption information, then you can just mark the box that says same as above. This is, again, a request to set aside an order, so we need to identify which order that is. Line 2 asks you to list the date of the order that you're asking to be set aside and who was required to pay the support. So that's either, again, petitioner, respondent, other parent. You would mark the correct box of the obligor support. Under Family Code Section 3691, there are 3 grounds that you can ask to set aside an order from: fraud, perjury, or lack of notice. Fraud is where you were perhaps properly served with a motion, but maybe told by the other party that you don't need to appear, or that they're taking the request off calendar and you don't appear and orders are made in your absence. That would be an example of fraud. Perjury is where a party misrepresents information under penalty of perjury. Oftentimes in the support order, you are required to fill out an income and expense declaration, also known as an FL-150, where you list your income available for support. If a party lied on that form, for instance, that would be an example of perjury. Lack of notice would be an instance where you did not receive notice of the motion that went forth in your absence. Maybe the other party lied and said they had served you when they hadn't served you. That would be lack of notice, an appropriate basis to set aside an order on. All of these grounds are explained in further detail in Family Code Section 3691. With any set-aside motion, there's usually a statute of limitations. That means the amount of time that can toll and within which you can bring your request. So the tolling time for a request to set aside based upon fraud, it needs to be brought within 6 months after the date you discovered or reasonably should have discovered the fraud. Perjury, again, is 6 months from the date you discovered or reasonably should have discovered the perjury. If you're filing this request based upon lack of notice, then it needs to be 6 months after the date that you obtained notice of the support order. Perhaps it was mailed to you, or the date maybe your wages started being garnished, and that would be your income and assets being subject to attachment under the support order, and that puts you on notice that this action had taken place under lack of notice. Finally, on page 2, there's a little box where you can list your facts in support of the relief requested. This is where you tell your story, your explanation for the request. If this is not enough space for you, you can attach another sheet of paper, list at the top facts and support continued, and that will be considered as part of your overall request. And then finally, you want to sign and date your form. I hope you found this helpful. Good luck.